We've all heard that you have to spend money to make money, but what does that actually mean for an indie bookstore? In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how much a bookstore spends to get books and merchandise onto our shelves, what we actually make when those things sell, and then the big one, how many sales it takes to first break even and then actually turn a profit. And I'm going to do all of it in plain speak. You don't need an economics degree or understand all the business jargon. Just real numbers, explain the way I'd explain it if you invited me over to talk to you about opening your own business. All right, let's jump in. So let's start with a single book, because that's what everyone pictures when they think about a bookstore. Say I've got a paperback that sells retail for $20. To a customer, that's the whole story. 20 bucks, here's your book. But from my side of the counter, it looks a little different. To get that book on my shelf, I usually pay somewhere around $12 for it. So I spend 12 bucks, the customer pays 20, and that leaves me with $8. Spend money to make money, right? But here's the word I want you to remember: margins. It leaves me $8 when I sell that book, and it's not profit, not yet. We're going to call it margin. It's just the gap between what I paid and what I sell it for. And that margin has a lot of work to do before any of it becomes mine. And that's before we even talk about the little things that can chip away at it. What if I gave that customer a 10% discount? Or what if I pay shipping to get the book in? What if I bought it specifically for an event and there are other fees attached to it? Every one of those things comes out of that $8 margin, not the $20 retail price. So that margin shrinks fast. So just lock that in. On a $20 book, I'm keeping about $8, and that's the best case scenario. Now let's talk about merchandise, because this is where it gets interesting. And honestly, it's where a lot of bookstores quietly make their living. So let's use a simple example of a tote bag. I buy that tote bag, it costs me $10 wholesale to get it. I sell it for $20. So unlike the book where I only kept around $8, on a tote I keep $10. That's a 50-50 split, which is half the cost, half margin, and that's pretty typical for a lot of merch. Now, if you think about a smaller item like a sticker, I might sell the highest price sticker in the store for $5 and keep about $3 of that. So it's a smaller dollar amount, but look at the ratio, it's 50-50. I keep a much bigger slice of that sale than I do on a book. And that's the whole point I want you to see here. On a $20 book, I keep $8. On a $20 tote, I keep $10. Same price to the customer, but the merch puts more money in my pocket toward keeping the lights on. That's why when you walk into almost any indie bookstore, you don't just see books. You see candles and cards and totes and stickers and enamel pins, bookmarks, all of it. And to a customer, it looks like fun things, but to the owner, it's not decoration. It's literally our margin, right? It's the stuff that helps cover the rent when the book margins are too thin to do it by themselves. Now, merch is not free money. You still have to pick it carefully. Some of it sells, some of it sits, some of it ties up cash, just like slow-moving books do. But pound for pound, good merch usually earns its shelf space better than books do. And once you understand that, you understand why it's there. So keep both of these things in your head. The $8 you make on a book and the $10 you make on a tote, because I'm going to show you guys how those little chunks of margin are what actually decide whether your store survives. Now, this is the part that actually matters. How many sales do you need to survive? This is the break-even point, and understanding break-even point is the difference between running a business and just hoping that it works out. So when I sell a $20 book, I do not have $20 to put toward my rent. That would be nice, right? Remember, I spent about $12 to get that book on the shelf. So the moment it sells, $12 of that $20 has to go right back out the door to replace the book. What I actually keep is the margin, $8. So that $8 and the $10 I might make on a tote and the $3 I might make on a sticker, those little chunks of margin are the only money I have to cover everything else. And everything else includes a very big list, right? It's like my lease, my insurance, my payroll, utilities, point of sale software, all the costs that show up every single month, whether I sell one book or 1,000 books. So let me split my costs into two buckets, because this is the whole trick, right? Bucket one is the cost of goods sold, what I pay to get books and merch. That cost goes up and down with every sale. Sell more, spend more replacing it. But bucket two are my fixed costs, rent, insurance, payroll, all the stuff. Those don't care how many books I sell. Those costs are there no matter what or how much I sell. Break-even point is the moment all those little chunks of margins, the 10s, the 8s, the $3, finally add up to cover the whole second bucket, the fixed costs. That's it. That's break-even. Not when my sales cover my expenses, but when my margin does. And here's why this matters so much specifically for an indie bookstore. Because our margins are thin. $8 on a $20 book is not a lot. So it takes a lot of books to pile up enough margin to cover a month's rent. This is exactly why you walk into almost any bookstore, you see all of those merch things, candles, totes, cards. It's not clutter, it's survival. That merch actually carries a better margin than the books do. So it helps us break even faster. Now, once my margin covers all my fixed costs for the month, every dollar of margin after that is finally profit. That's the day the business starts actually making money. But I want to be very clear about something because this is where a lot of people get things confused. Break even may keep your doors open, but it does not put food on your table. Your own paycheck, what you need to actually live, that's a separate target. It sits on top of the break even. So you've really got two numbers, the one that keeps the store alive and the one that keeps you alive. And early on, the goal is to keep the store alive. Personal survival comes later. Don't confuse these things. You may end up making decisions that feel really good this month and hurt you the next month. So that's the truth about indie bookstore profits. It's not that bookstores can't make money. It's that the money works differently than a lot of aspiring indie bookstore owners assume. You don't keep what's on the price tag. You keep the margin. Books give you a little, merch usually gives you a little more, and all those small chunks have to stack up high enough to cover your fixed costs before you've even made a single real dollar. Break even first, pay yourself second, never confuse the two. Okay, if you go into this with your eyes open, knowing your numbers, understanding all the margins, committing to selling books and merch, all the things, it absolutely can work. I'm doing it, other people are doing it, and this is exactly the kind of thing I was grateful to know before I opened. So if it was helpful for you to see this video and you want more honest, behind the scenes breakdowns of the book side, the business side of book selling like this, then please like and subscribe this video. I'm building a whole series of videos for people who are serious about understanding the business of indie book selling. And I'd love for you guys to drop your questions in the comments. I read and eventually respond to every last one of them. They help me figure out what you guys want to learn and what you want to hear next. So I'm Lucas, owner of Spineless Reads Fiction Bookstore here in Williamsburg, Virginia, and I'll see you in the next video.